Fallout Equestria Survivors Guild, Chapter 10, Home. All secrets are deep. All secrets become dark. That's in the nature of secrets. Cory Doctorow.
I think we're gonna need a bigger hotel room,
I commented as me, Ark, Cherry, Vanilla, and Serenity looked around in our suite at the hotel in Nomad City.
Maybe we should consider investing in an apartment. That might not be a bad idea.
Vanilla said with a shake of her head.
Well, unless you and Cherry want to share a bed. Yeah, like they haven't been doing that every night anyway.
Ark said with a smirk.
Hey, it helps me sleep.
Cherry said with a blush.
It's not like we do anything, you know, we just cuddle. Well, I think it's sweet,
Serenity said.
Besides, the human world Scootaloo and Sweetie Belle did it all the time when they were here. Wait, our counterparts were together in that world too?
I asked. I had to admit, I was a little surprised, but hey, it meant some version of me was out there, being happy.
Oh yeah, well, they got together during the Changeling invasion,
Serenity said.
Were you with Sweetie Belle too? Yeah, she was the first pony I ever really loved.
I sighed.
She and I have always been friends since I moved to Ponyville as a filly. When we started Stable Tech with Apple Bloom, we worked together a lot on the advertisements and things for the company. Finally, one night she admitted that she always had feelings for me, and well, one thing led to another. Things you are way too young to be thinking about, young filly.
Serenity just laughed a little at that as Vanilla facehoved. Smooth, Scootaloo, real smooth.
We never really got married. Never really had a chance because of the war and the business. We always hoped that if the worst happened, we both could make it to Stable 2 and spend the rest of our lives together in there. But I was above the clouds when the bombs went off and I didn't get the chance. I'm sorry, Scootaloo,
Ark said, her ears folded against her head a little.
I had no idea. Yeah, I thought about getting into it after I was exiled, but I didn't want to risk killing every pony inside,
I said with a sigh as I opened up the locket I had been wearing since Velvet gave it to me.
If I hadn't gotten injured, I could have made it.
Serenity climbed up onto the couch and gave me a gentle hug and smiled.
It's okay, Scootaloo. It's not your fault.
I smiled and hugged the filly back.
Thank you, Serenity. That really means a lot to me.
Serenity nodded a moment and just stayed there on the couch with me for a while longer.
So, what about you, Cherry? Any ex-mare friends out there Scootaloo should know about?
Ark asked.
Well, no. Relationships weren't really a thing in Stable 48.
Cherry said with a shrug.
Oh, sure, sometimes couples would get together, but when the breeding cycle came around, they almost never got paired up. I remember one of the other breeders, Lily, and she was in a relationship with a stallion, and they were lucky enough to get paired up for the cycle, so that was something. And what about you?
I asked her. It almost felt like the teasing was starting to get to me because I almost wanted to pursue a relationship with Cherry at this point.
No pony special, really. I just did my job as best as I could,
Cherry said.
But who knows, really. Maybe I'll find some special pony out here in the wasteland, but she'd have to be quite the special mare.
She was looking at me when she said that. Should I be worried or flattered? Dear Celestia, why did my life have to be so frickin' complicated? Well, a better question, though, was whether or not I was ready for another relationship. That was something I was gonna have to think about even before I considered pursuing one with Cherry. The next day, Star took me to Nomad City's security HQ building alone. She said that the chief of security wanted to talk to me before we reached Stable 122, which, it made sense. Know your enemy and all that.
So, given current events, I think we should know everything we can about Stable 122.
A unicorn mare with a black coat and a red mane said, as she looked at me.
You know everything about the stables, don't you? It's permanently seared into my brain, ma'am,
I said.
So, Stable 122 was the last one that was completed before the last day. Unlike most stables, however, it wasn't intended to be a social experiment. Instead, Stable 122 was instructed to keep a constant population of 500 every year. It was intended to be an experiment in population control, keeping that population at a stable rate. So, the question now is, why do they want us?
Star said, and I nodded in agreement.
We know a little about Stable 122. It's been open up to Equestria since before the war with the Crimson Empire. It's now a town built out of a stable similar to Stable City before Operation Cauterize called Whitehome. So, you don't think they've sided with the Enclave?
The chief asked.
No, ma'am. It doesn't sound like they have,
Star said.
Honestly, it's something of an unknown quantity at this point. The NCR tried to make contact with them after the war, but the Overmare didn't seem interested. Which makes things even more weirder. Maybe they want something that the Enclave can't give them?
I said.
I really have no idea what that might be, though. The Enclave seems more than willing to give settlements and stables access to resources. Thank you for your time, you two. This was very enlightening. I'll present this all to the Council,
the chief said.
The Council has asked that you two accompany the diplomatic team down to Whitehome in order to work out the deal. Wait, why us?
I asked.
You have to ask them. Now, unless there's anything else, you're dismissed.
She finished, and the two of us walked out of her office.
I don't like this,
I said as we moved down the hallway.
There's nothing particularly remarkable about Stable 122, but something about this feels weird. I know what you mean,
Star said with a sigh.
I just wish that we could do something to stop the Enclave. You know? I know what you mean,
I said with a sigh.
You don't think this is related to the Enclave General in New Orleans? That's been quiet for so long? No, that general...
Star started to say as she paused for a moment.
She's not interested in Winterbreeze's plans anymore, believe me. She has nothing to do with what's going on, I promise. That's all I can tell you right now. It's a private matter.
That was weird. Did Star know more than she was letting on? But even if she did so, I didn't want to pry, though I had to wonder. Was it possible that the General had gone Dashite? That would certainly keep her out of the Enclave's plans.
Alright, I won't pry further,
I said as we exited the building.
So, see you at dinner tonight? See you then. Why do I have to get all dressed up?
Serenity protested as Vanilla helped her get into a dress. It was a few days later, and we were above Stable 122, and getting ready to head down to the stable.
Because we're the ambassadors to a possibly new ally. We should look our best,
Vanilla said with a sigh as her adopted daughter squirmed a little. I laughed a little at that. Serenity did really remind me a lot of myself when I was that age. It was kind of strange, almost like I was seeing a mirror reflection of myself when I was 10.
Why doesn't Scootaloo have to wear a dress?
Serenity protested. Indeed, I was wearing my usual coat over a white undershirt, vest, and tie.
Because they don't have that outfit in fillies your age, and we don't have time to wait for one to be made,
Vanilla said.
I think you look cute,
I said with a chuckle as I ruffled the filly's mane.
We just need to get you a bow in your mane, and you to look... No bows! I look silly with a bow,
she said as Vanilla laughed.
Okay, fine, no bows,
I said as I straightened my tie.
So, how do I look? You look great, don't worry about it,
Vanilla said.
I'd worry more about your companions. Arclight didn't even want to wear a suit. Yeah, well, you get used to wearing these things when...
I started to say when Cherry entered the room, and I lost my voice. Cherry wore a beautifully designed red dress that hugged the curves of her body. The dress was beautifully designed, to the point that it would make Rarity die of jealousy. I couldn't help but stare as she trotted over to me with a smile.
You look... wow. Like they said, we should look our best for the ponies in Whitehome,
Cherry said with a smile as she offered me her hoof.
You look pretty well yourself. Did you actually brush your mane?
I blushed a little and took her hoof.
Thanks. So, shall we?
I nodded as we all headed out of the hotel and towards the hangar. The vertibus came in for a landing outside of a small building that had a sign outside of it that was saying, "Welcome to Whitehome." We all filed out of the vertibus as the door opened and several ponies filed out. At the head was a gray unicorn mare who looked at us appraisingly. She tried to give something resembling a welcoming smile, but it didn't exactly succeed. I noticed that she had a few scars on her body, which was a little strange, but I wasn't going to question it.
Welcome to Whitehome. I am Overmare Silverlining from Stable 122. I run things in here,
she said as she offered a hoof to Jade.
Councilmare Jade from Nomad City,
Jade said with a smile as we all introduced ourselves. A brown Pegasus mare dressed in what looked like a torn uniform of some sort locked eyes with me, or, well, I, because one of her eyes was covered with an eye patch. I gulped a little and tried not to think about what that might mean. I just looked back to Silver Lining, who was starting to talk.
So, we received word of the current situation in Equestria, and we wanted to lend what assistance that we can.
Silver Lining said, and nodded to the other ponies.
So, Reticle and Blue here are a part of a special group from here in Whiteholme that have special training and enhancements that will be of use to the allies against the Enclave. Despite the fact that 2 of you are Dashites,
Reticle said as she looked between me and Star.
General Reticle, I have to say I wasn't expecting to see you here.
Star said as she trotted forward, looking the older mare in the eyes.
Did the President finally get tired of putting up with you?
General Reticle? Ugh, dear Celestia, this was one of the Wonderbolt generals. What was she doing here? My mind was racing as I tried to figure it out. This wasn't the same one from New Orleans, that much was certain. Star seemed to know that one and was trying to keep whoever it was secret. This general was most definitely not a secret.
My raptor crashed en route to its destination,
Reticle simply said.
They found me and brought me here, and it turns out I was eligible for their little science experiment here. Star, honey, can we please to try not to cause an incident?
Jade asked as she looked at her wife worriedly.
Please? I'm game if she is,
Star said as she continued staring down at the Enclave General.
Fine. I wouldn't want to waste a bullet on you anyway,
Reticle said as she looked away and headed back underground.
My apologies. If I would have known that you 2 had a history, I would have asked her to stay downstairs,
Silver Lining said as we started to go into the building. A few more things were said, but my mind was still reeling. I had no idea that I'd cross paths with another general so soon, let alone in a place like this. Then, there was the matter of the project that they mentioned. Something about this really smelled fishy, and I didn't like it. I had to get answers, and there was only one place I was going to be able to get them. In Stable 122.